The Battle of Bunker Hill might be the best loss in American history. It was a loss so good that the Patriots legitimately believed that there was hope for long-term political change in the colonies. So in the wake of the British disaster at Lexington and Concord, the British Redcoats were pinned into their garrison in Boston by the colonial militiamen that had chased them back from the battlefield. And it's important to note, this is not the Continental Army. This is just a bunch of dudes. So the British High Command is thinking, what the frick is going on? There's all these Patriots that sat out there we're being besieged by a mob. What do we do about that? Do we stay and try to figure it out, or do we just go down and mow them down? I don't know. Well, obviously they're gonna go for the mow down, but the colonists were thinking the same thing. They're thinking, we've got the British pinned into their garrison, but what are we supposed to do about it? This very confusing stalemate lasted about 2 months until the Patriots finally decided to do something. They said, all right, we're gonna go across the isthmus west into Charlestown, in the area above Boston. It looked different back then than it does today. They're gonna take up a position on Bunker Hill to overlook the British position. Why did they do this? They wanted to turn up the pressure and see what the British were going to do about it. The operation started out with a night march to the position, and between the darkness and all the giddy excitement, the colonists missed Bunker Hill and wound up on Breed's Hill, which is actually a lower hill in a slightly more threatening position. So once they got to their position, all through the night, they're just building earthworks and defenses around it. So by the time the sun came up, the first British guard to look out and see what was happening had to report back, hey, the colonists are getting stuck in and they're aiming artillery right at us. The British generals are very confused. They look out and they see what was essentially a mob building earthworks, and they're like, they should not be doing that shit. Generals Howe, Burgoyne, and Gage got together and they're like, what are we gonna do about this? And in the end, I can only assume in perfect unison, they said, full frontal assault, yeah? Yeah. So at noon that day, the Redcoats got in some big boats and some cute little rowboats, and they went north across the Charles, and they began organizing and forming a line for some charging. Well, the Patriots were much more organized and prepared than the Redcoats thought, and instead of just going to town, they waited until the Redcoats marched until they're about 50 yards away until they started firing. The first wave of musket fire from the colonists was absolutely devastating, and a bunch of the Redcoats fell instantly. They were forced to retreat and reform their line. The second charge goes, same thing. They get close, terrible hellfire, retreat, turn around, head back. On the third push, the Patriots started to run out of ammunition and gunpowder. The Redcoats made it to their line and an all-out melee ensued. The colonists were forced to retreat, but the British losses were appalling. Double the colonist tally, the British recorded over 1,000 dead and wounded. Although it was a tactical defeat, the relative success of the militiamen inspired the Patriots and horrified Parliament, who then ripped up the Olive Branch Agreement and said, no more Mr. Nice Guy.